Which is the best stock to buy? Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing or Advanced Micro Devices? TSM stock or AMD stock? I'm going to answer that question in this video, comparing the two across four different critical financial metrics. So let's get right into it. Starting with annual revenue growth, we see here AMD in the orange and Taiwan Semiconductor in the purple. And it looks like over the last several years, AMD has grown revenue at a faster rate than TSM, than Taiwan Semiconductor. And I suspect over the next several years, AMD could experience faster revenue growth than Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing. So I would give the advantage, the revenue growth advantage, to AMD. The next metric I wanted to compare these two on is the operating profit margin over the trailing 12 months. And in this metric, you see Taiwan Semiconductor here with a robust operating margin. The lowest it went was 35%, and it's been on the rise up to 47% recently. Excellent operating profit margins, especially for a manufacturer. Next, on the bottom, we have AMD, who was experiencing rising operating margins. That has came down as of late as rising inventories of computer chips and the fact that consumers have shifted their spending away from laptops and desktop computers has hurt AMD's operating margins down to 5.36%. But even before that, Taiwan Semiconductor was way ahead of AMD in terms of operating margins. So big advantage here to Taiwan Semiconductor. And in my opinion, the operating margin is more important than revenue growth. At least for me as an investor, I like companies with higher profit margins over companies with better revenue growth. The next metric I wanted to look at is cash flow from operations to sales. I want to see how good these companies are at turning sales into cash flow from operations. And again, in this metric, Taiwan Semiconductor dominating AMD with a cash flow from operations of an incredible 71.46%. This is among the highest of any of the companies that I follow. Remember now, if you're new to my channel, you'll know I follow over 100 companies, and this cash flow from operations margin of 71% is among the leaders of all of the companies that I follow. So incredibly good margins and cash flow from operations for Taiwan Semiconductor. AMD with 15.11% is not so bad, although comparing it to TSM makes it look bad, but a cash flow from operations to sales of 15.11% is respectable. Finally, I wanted to compare these two on valuation, and I chose to use the forward price to earnings ratio and the price to free cash flow. Looking first at the price to earnings ratio forward, AMD is much more expensive at 27.9 compared to 16.28 for TSM. And then looking at price to free cash flow, again, AMD much more expensive than TSM in terms of price to free cash flow at 43 versus 26.7. So to conclude, to answer the question, which one of these two stocks is the best one to buy right now? I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now. I would say TSM is the best stock to buy between these two. It's got the better operating margins, it's got the better cash flow from operations to sales, and it's selling at a lower valuation. It does have slower growth than AMD, but I'm willing to take the higher profits and higher cash flow from operations at a lower valuation. For me, I would much prefer that. So I'm choosing Taiwan Semiconductor. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. I know there's a lot you could be doing with your time, but you chose to watch this video, and I really appreciate that. If you like this one, I have others that I've done like this. I'll link you to a couple of videos that I think you will enjoy. So please click on one of those, and I'll see you over there.